Hey friends, we are back with another Zoom call, and I think it's appropriate that on Easter weekend, we are talking about a resurrection of sorts in the Vancouver sport. Thank you, Matt. I was working on that one all day, and he is my first repeat guest. I've been only doing these Zoom chats for about a year, but I'm so honored that he is my first repeat guest. So welcome, Mr. Matthew Sekeres. Hey, Matt.
Well, first of all, it's the holiest weekend of the year, and I know you're a man of faith, Clay. So if I can return the joke, thank you for your sacrifice in conforming to my schedule this week and your interest in us. I am honored to be your first repeat guest because it's an illustrious list now, buddy. I mean, you have really gotten yourself some heavyweights in the industry. So thank you for that. And you know, Clay, when 1040 went down, you reached out first just as a friend and with support, and then asked me to come on the pod. And then when Blake and I announced that we're getting back together, once again, you reached out as a friend and then asked me about the pod. So, you know, I told you, Clay, as soon as we're ready to do interviews, I guarantee one of us will join you. So here we are, and I thank you for your continued interest in me, my friend.
I appreciate that, Matt. I will continue the Mutual Admiration Society just for 30 seconds. No, when it comes to this channel, I have been blessed. Not everyone has said yes, and people get it. They know I'm too old. I'm not trying to break in the industry. I just have honestly a true respect and admiration for everything and all types of media that you guys do. So that's first and foremost. And for you, regardless, you've always been good to me at the games or at the charity events. So truly blessed to call you friend. And now we can talk about some cool stuff that you and Blake Price have going on. So before we get to and this is kind of appropriate, it is launch weekend. We joked about Resurrection Weekend, but and I listened to your appearance on the Vancast. Excellent. So I won't make you repeat all of that, but I would love to know the birth of this concept, whatever, and we'll get to what the actual concept is, but the birth of it, how long after February 9th? Was it February 9th or how long?
No, not for me. I needed some grieving time. I needed to lick my wounds. And I also needed to reach out to the hundreds of people who reached out with personal notes to me. I can tell you, and when you get them on that, Blake was like gung-ho that afternoon. We got to get on the air Monday and all that. And I was like, whoa. So I guess it would have been about a week later where it sort of dawned on me that, you know, no matter how down I was, no matter how much I was questioning our industry, that Blake and I have something special, a great chemistry that has been enduring on the air, and that I wasn't done with the business, and that I wanted to continue doing the show with the person that I've done the show with for 10 years, Blake Price. So I guess it was about a week later where I finally agreed to, okay, let's go out and try and find something. And, you know, the amazing part, Clay, was a whole bunch of people reached out and pretty quickly. So it became clear in a short amount of time that we were going to have some options, which was very comforting. And then it was about the exploration of those options. And boy, buddy, that was a big task. Like, even for someone like me, like I got a degree in journalism and mass comm, but you know, that's 20 years ago. The industry has changed so much. And so I cast a really wide net, talking to all my contacts in the industry, my network, to see what they thought. And together, along with Blake Price and some friends who are helping us out, some associates at North Beach Agency who are helping us out on this, ultimately we got together to make the decision that we're going to come together for this venture, that it's going to be a daily live presentation in time. And it's funny, I just came off doing an industry podcast with Jonah Siegel of YYZ Sports Media, who's pretty sharp to the game, who thought, you know, in our case, we might be sort of a pioneer in terms of the digital space and what we're trying to do. So the support's been amazing from the public and the business community, and we're really excited to get back at her here.
Awesome, Matt. Thank you. And I'm excited to explore what it's actually going to be. But you know what I found fascinating really is you see Rick and Donnie and Rob Fay, and then of course Halford and Bruff moving over to Sportsnet. So what's fascinating is who's landed on their feet and what they're doing and how long it's taken them. So I love what you said about, while Blake seemed to be gung-ho, you do have 10 years of name cachet and of loyalty. So 1 week probably wouldn't hurt you either way, but I just find that fascinating that you did take the time to, as you say, grieve. I can't imagine that was easy.
Yeah, well, one thing that I've always been acutely aware of, Clay, is that there are very few jobs in Canadian sports reporting. There are fewer jobs in this industry than there are jobs in the NHL.
Yeah.
And there are more people qualified to do them. So I have felt extraordinarily lucky, fortunate over the years that I had different mentors and people went to bat for me in the early days, that I had tremendous collaborators over the years in newspapers and in radio that helped me look better. And then I had this whole bunch of well-wishers from all walks of my life, not just the professional side, who reached out after all of that went down. So I felt like I needed a little bit of time there just to come to terms with everything, maybe not say anything rash, because I can be a little bit emotional.
No, really?
Also, yeah, believe it or not. But also take the time that others have put into me. So it was about 1,000 messages all told, tweets, wow. DMs, texts, emails, and phone calls. And I endeavored to get back to everyone individually. If I missed you, I'm sorry, it was oversight. But over the course of about 5 or 6 days, I got back to each and every one individually.
Wow. Now, thank you for that. I know this is a big launch weekend. I know that I'm going to be releasing this as Sekeres and Price are releasing news as well. So I'm going to give you the floor. I'm going to let you say what you're allowed to say, and then we'll fill in the bits and pieces as we go.
Well, some will have watched this after we have made the announcement, but on Sunday, and I think it's fair to suspect around midday, on Sunday, you want to be attuned to @Sekeres and Price on Twitter, or Sekeres and Price on some of the other social media channels. They'll be on Instagram, Facebook, and things like that. And of course, Blake and I will inform from our individual Twitter accounts. But on Sunday, we are going to announce when we start our live presentation, Monday to Friday. We have done 8 episodes plus like a little trailer play in the podcast space. Yes. That's what's been available to us right now. We sort of wanted to make sure we were still a part of this conversation. To be fair, we also wanted to use a little bit for promotional value. And the other thing is, we needed to find our feet, right? Like, we're a couple of 2 old radio horses who needed to make sure we were in spaces with the correct equipment so we could sound as good as we did. And do some test running and some experimentation. We got caught this week, Clay. We talked about the Canucks COVID situation, and pretty much the moment the podcast went up, there was new reporting on that, made that discussion obsolete. So, we needed to pay our dumb tax a little and do our learnings. And frankly, we probably will still be paying more dumb tax and doing more learnings as we go along with this. But, we feel like we finally are in a place where, in terms of the space and the equipment, the direction, the sponsorship of the show, the promotion, and then really important, the collaborators. And so far we've announced Jeff Patterson and Andrew Wadden and Thomas Drance, and there'll be more of those, Clay, in the coming days. I can tell you that. We also needed to be surrounded by good people, because that's what we had at 1040 with our lineup of guests. So, I think Patrick Johnson of the province called it the softest of launches. So here you go. We're a little bit harder in launch starting tomorrow.
Well, I have listened to the soft launch, all 8 plus the pilot. It's very good. And dare I say, you did find your footing pretty darn quickly. And obviously there's a natural chemistry, there's a natural trust. So what can you tell us? So we're talking, once you actually announce the date, it will be daily, 3 hours. On what platforms, Matt?
So it's going to be daily, starting at 3 p.m. To start. It's going to be available on every streaming platform that is out there. So whether you're used to taking in live events on Twitter or Facebook or other streaming platforms, it's going to be there. Clay, we're on the verge also of releasing our website.
Nice.
And so you're going to be able to go to the Sekeres and Price website. There's going to be a huge, big, unmistakable button, listen live. If you click on that, you're going to be able to stream it. In time, buddy, we're going to have our own app, okay? Because we're in app development right now. And
Yeah.
ultimately, this is going to be a video streaming platform in time. So you're going to be able to watch it on
Oh,
YouTube or
you're
any
speaking to
other.
my heart, Matt. You're speaking to my heart.
Exactly, Clay. I know. You're way ahead of us, sir.
No,
Way
no.
ahead of us. And we've also been sort of trotting this tidbit out, and I can't give you all the details, but Clay, in time, there, if everything goes down as we hope, and this isn't quite done, but we've got very encouraging signs. There's going to be a component where you're going to be able to meander down to the Sekeres and Price show and watch it live. And
Wow, that's pretty cool. And obviously, COVID protocol, and that's going to something that's going to grow.
That's going to be down the road.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
We can't. We can't call for gatherings yet, Clay. So we certainly won't be just yet for our little show.
No, that's so exciting. And when I listened to the Vancast, you guys had a really good discussion about bloggers and podcasts. But I think this whole video thing is a little bit untapped right now. There's a few of us doing it a little bit, but no, that's really exciting to me. That's really exciting to me that you're working that in.
Yeah, we sure are. We drew inspiration from great entertainers like yourself, Clay. Every medium available to you, you will use. And, this was, these were long discussions, buddy. I mean, there was a lot to figure out here. The one thing I've learned about this is that, you fix one little issue, you're you're on to the next one. And next, it's ceaseless and relentless. So, we ask everybody to have patience with us. But we certainly hope that the audience is going to be satisfied and proud of the product that's coming out.
And I'm not going to ask you to do it percentage wise or go line by line, but in general, would you say that you and Blake kind of offer equal amount of ideas, or is it kind of one of you kind of doing the idea guy, the other one's the more realistic guy, or is it being pretty much a shared process?
Yeah. I should also mention, of course, when it's a live show, it's going to be available in podcasts as well as the hours go up. It's just, I miss that sometimes once we go live, but it's podcast now, will be podcast available on podcast going forward. So Blake is very creative. He's got a parent who's an artist. And just because of the way the meter of our lives are a little bit different, right? Like he's a father of 4 who has all sorts of extracurricular responsibilities outside the workplace. I don't have any children. So the way we've worked in the past is that I pretty much plan and plot the day-to-day show working in concert with our producers, and that will be N1. Again, to sort of block the show, understand, what's coming up over the next week, all the big things that are scheduled and what we have to have in place in terms of sporting events, Canucks games, things like the Masters golf tournament, the NCAA basketball, we're in a busy time of year right now. But Blake is highly creative. He usually is the guy behind the poll question, although that's collaborative. And from time to time, that's others. And Blake's also pretty strong about, I want to do this story. We'll get this guest on. And so, I mean, I couldn't quantify it for you, Clay, over the years. And the best part is like, Blake and I are beyond that, we're not like, oh, I did this part, so it's your turn to do this. No, none of that. We get together and work collaboratively for the best benefit of the show and the best we can do by the audience.
Awesome. What a great segue. I know you didn't see my question list, but speaking of collaboration, where I think we really see how good you guys are together are in your segments, your recurring segments, whether it's the Welcome Matt, The Price is Right, Tell Me I'm Wrong, Memo 2, Hot Takes, whatever it is. And what's the one where you each argue and then there's the jury? What's that?
Take 5 Thursday.
Take 5. Yes. Okay. So we just rattled off 5 or 6. Can we expect most of those to come over with you to your new show?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't guarantee all of them right now, Clay. For example, Take 5 Thursday. We have a foam board there. We've got it checked, right? Like we're running all the tests. I hope it's going to be there for day 1. But if we need a week or 2 to just make sure we're great in terms of being able to take phone calls, put people on, and it's of course not the air because it's digitally, but put people on the show, good sound quality and all that, then we'll have that right out of the chute. If that takes a couple of weeks, that takes a couple of weeks. But Tell Me I'm Wrong is, been a daily segment for us right from the jump. That will be back. People love that hot take segment we do on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We'll certainly be doing that. Heck, that might be on Thursdays for the time being until if Take 5 Thursday isn't ready to go. You know, a couple of the other ones are a little bit more still under discussion. Pardon me, right now. But you know what we've been telling people is, at least in the early going here, it is going to be very similar to the Sekeres and Price show on 1040 that they knew for the better part of a decade. We're going to have Jeff Patterson there on the Canucks beat with all the great information and analysis that Jeff has. We're going to have people like Thomas Drance of The Athletic on with their view of the Canucks and the National Hockey League. We're going to pluck some of our friends and insiders from different sports and get them on when there are big events, big activities in their area of expertise. We're going to cover the Lions and Whitecaps when they get back up and going, and of course cover the BC sports scene. So, you know, hopefully it's a show by and for the community. And, you know, really they've been our fuel, Clay, like, as I mentioned to you, the support and everybody who rallied around us was encouraging when we were down. You know, that's hard to forget. I mean, you know, that hit me right here. And that left an indelible mark on the two of us, I can tell you. So we're gonna do our best. We're gonna do our utmost. The digital space does give you a little bit more room for experimentation. Some things will be a little different there. So I look forward to incorporating some of the flexibility and the liberty, the agility we have, no longer being tied to terrestrial radio.
Wow. I'll just ask one more question about the new format, then a couple Canucks questions, and then we'll be off. You scared at all, Matt? You scared or apprehensive at all?
Boy, Clay, right between the eyes, huh? How about that? Direct question. I love it. I've asked many of those. No longer scared. Nervous? Yes. Be lying to you if I said I wasn't nervous. We got some shows coming up that are live in a different space than I'm accustomed to. With quite frankly, Clay, a whole lot of technologies at play that I don't necessarily understand in full, which is why we've needed a great team around us. I'm excited. I'm nervous. I know there are still things to be done that I've got to sort. So I've got a little bit of that hanging over me. There was a time where I was a little bit scared, but here's the thing, Clay. I did a pretty deep exploration into the digital space with an academic degree that fits right in. So I felt like I was in a pretty good place to understand things that were going on. And pretty shortly after I began that exploration of the digital space, I came to understand that there were some people who were already making a pretty good go out of this commercially, and felt like we had sort of the right conditions around launch, being who we are and having a 10-year relationship with this province, having the wound of, you know, the sports talk radio station, the rug pulled out from under us, but most importantly, understanding that this community's coverage expectations were not being met by the traditional media environment and decision makers that weren't based in our province. So pretty early on, it became apparent to me that we could do something here in terms of taking back coverage for the community, right? And making this a BC and a Vancouver enterprise with a more intimate relationship with our audience and with our sponsors. And that's what we endeavor to do.
Wow. Well said. No, thank you as always for your transparency and your humility that way. I'll ask you just a couple of Canucks questions. Obviously we're right in the middle of a very challenging time, probably unprecedented. And
yes,
of course we hope and we wish and we pray, whatever thought you want to use, that everyone comes out of this and comes out of it healthy. Yes. From the practical side, do you see them playing again, and when?
You know, talked about that with Blake this morning, actually. Yeah. Because the variant's now involved, right? One of the COVID variants. I'm not necessarily sure we're done with positive tests either.
Yeah.
Although you sure hope so. The first player we heard of was Adam Gaudette, and his partner. She reported that he was having a really rough go on it with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe their last game is scheduled May 12th. Is that right, Clay?
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, I think we're a couple weeks out before we see them on the ice, right?
Yeah.
And how much time remains in the schedule? How willing would the NHL be willing to, push the regular season back to get these games that have been postponed rescheduled? And then, of course, you get right down to the fact, will it even matter? There's, what are they, like 6 points back of Montreal as we speak, with 4 games, and Montreal having 4 games in hand on they could feasibly be 10 to 14 points out of a playoff spot, on equal footing in games, when any kind of return comes around. So, if it's kind of unnecessary to the playoff chase and you can use points percentage to determine the draft lottery, I do think there is, just today here on Saturday, a world where the Vancouver Canucks don't step on the ice again this year or this season. Yeah,
no, I'm with you. And it's one thing to say these are finely tuned athletes and they'll get better, maybe they'll recover, but this isn't a cold. This isn't a flu. This is something that could really affect. That's the part that scares me, quite frankly, Matt. It's just,
we don't know the long-term health consequences either, Clay. And these variants seem to be, and these variants, so we know even less about them, right? So, boy, this last year and a bit has been really tough.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine a more difficult period for Canucks sports and entertainment. I mean, they have been through some stuff in the past, but I'm not sure anything approaches this level. And, I know Blake and I and others who have, friends, associates, colleagues, people we care about we've sent out notes and just say, hey, I hope you're doing as well as possible with this. And I hope everyone makes a recovery and that the symptoms are mild, and that we just get to a point where everyone's healthy and safe again before we even start talking about hockey.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. And one final question. I won't make you do the 5-hole rapid fire because we did that a few months ago, but I do have one last question. I meant to ask you about the Sekeres and Price show, your new offering. Do you think that this pandemic has made it easier to get everything together, more difficult, or how do I say, neutral almost? Like I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on how it's been to do all this during a pandemic.
If I had to do the calculation, Clay, I would say, pardon me, I would say it probably posed more challenges than there were benefits.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a couple examples. Right now, we can't bring people to our recording space to do them live, right? We would love to, but it's already Blake and I and a couple of producers there. So right now, it's a little more difficult from a health and safety point of view, from a people being willing to coordinate, to cooperate on that point of view, to bring someone down to our recording space.
Yeah.
On the positive side, there is a lot of unused space in downtown Vancouver right now. So if you were doing this outside of a pandemic, you would probably have fewer options and they would probably be a little more expensive to you.
I never even thought about that. Yeah.
Honestly, Clay, I didn't, that was not on my radar until it was on my radar. Right.
Yeah.
So that has been, well, we deal with it each and every day. Put it that way. In one way, shape, or form, we deal with the pandemic and its challenges each and every day. And boy, I can't wait for a world where we're done, where I see you in the concourse of Rogers Arena, right?
Catching
at the
up.
Intermission, and I say, great job on the anthem, Clay. And, we have a nice exchange and a photo or something. Like, I'm looking for that. I'm looking for that day. Can't come soon enough, Clay.
Absolutely.
It really can't.
And just to be clear, it's Marie singing the anthem and me just filming her singing the anthem. But I know what you mean.
Come on, but like,
no, you're too good. Well, Matt,
you are part of that presentation,
well,
Clay.
I appreciate that.
You're an expressive piano player. You got all sorts of charisma, as we've talked about. You're a natural entertainer. So, I love it when you and Marie do the anthem. I look forward to you guys getting back and having more opportunities in front of a full house. 18.5.
There you go. I appreciate that, Matt. I appreciate the time. I'm so excited to see how Sekeres and Price is going to find a quick footing and just really be innovators in this market. So thanks for the time this weekend. I will be sharing stuff as you're sharing stuff, and it'll just be a whole bunch of sharing on Easter Sunday. How does that sound?
That sounds fantastic. Thanks again, Clay, for making time for me. I appreciate this, my friend, and our friendship. And I wish you all the best. Look forward to joining you again soon.
Same to you. Good luck with everything. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Clay.